from RTO here. Welcome to another week on the channel, and today we start with an album ranking, which is part 2 of the Ronnie James Dio story. So we have reached his second band, the Mighty Rainbow. I'm going to rank all the albums, not just Ronnie's, because I love Rainbow. I love all their albums. This was tough because I like all the albums equally. So, Rainbow were formed in 1975 by Ritchie Blackmore, of course, and he, at the time, Deep Purple were touring, and they had Elf with them, and they sort of, Ritchie Blackmore was getting, as he usually does, gets disillusioned with what the direction that Deep Purple were going in. So he liked Ronnie James Dio singing, so he basically, to start, he got the band Elf minus Steve on guitars, and they did their first album. Then in true Ritchie fashion, he sacked everybody except Ronnie, got in that classic lineup, and then it was hire and fire for the whole of their career. I mean, they're now back on doing touring stuff with Ronnie Romero and on vocals and a few others, but they haven't actually put down any tracks. Well, they have put one, I think, but who knows, because he's now back with Blackmore's Night. So all that good stuff. So in all, Rainbow released 8 albums. So we'll start at number 8, which is a good place to start, and this is the album that was released in 1995, the 8th and most recent studio album, Stranger in Us All. Completely new band. We've got Doogie White on lead vocals, Ritchie Blackmore, of course, on guitars, Greg Smith bass, Paul Morris keyboards, John O'Reilly on drums, and backing vocals were done by Candice Knight, and harmonica was Mitch Weiss, or Weiss, depends how you pronounce it. First track is called Wolf to the Moon. This opens up with some classic Blackmore riffing, and Doogie's vocals are good. It's just a good old-fashioned Rainbow song. Really nice track. Good stuff on that one. Then we get Cold Hearted Woman. This is a track I like. It's got that 80s feel to it, that 80s Rainbow. And Doogie White sounds so much like Joe Lynn Turner on this. It's unbelievable. It is a really good track. Hunting Humans, again, I really like this. Ritchie's guitar work on this is great. It's got such a catchy hook to it as well. Like most Rainbow songs, it's got such a hook. Stand Up and Fight, this is a bit more rock and roll, but it's probably one of the weaker tracks on the album. It's not a particular favourite of mine. Let me get my favourite track on this album, and that's Aerial. I love this. This is a track that goes straight back to that classic lineup days. It's got the movement, it's got the atmosphere, some great guitar playing by Ritchie on this. It's a great track. I love this track. Then we get Too Late for Tears. It's okay. Just a bog standard sort of rock track, but Doogie White's vocals on it are superb. Then we get Black Masquerade. Yes, definitely got the traits of Purple and Rainbow on this. The drumming on this is brilliant from John O'Reilly. Really strong drumming, really good strong track. Then we get Silence. It's got some brass in it, but don't like it. Awful. Then we get a track called In Hall of the Mountain King. Now, this is the classic classical piece by Edvard Grieg, and lyrics were written by Candice Knight. She wrote the lyrics to this. Very, very clever, very good. I love that track. And then we get Still I'm Sad, the Yardbirds cover. I've done an instrumental version of it, and now they've done a singing version. It's alright, nothing special. Okay, I think this is a good album actually. Okay, so it comes in at number 8, but it's not a bad album. It's a good album coming in at number 8. I mean, I love Rainbow, so it's a really strong album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 7, we go back to the last album of the classic days. You know, the last one before the one we've just had, and it's Bent Out of Shape, released in 1983. On here we've got Ritchie Blackmore, Roger Glover, Jolyn Turner, Dave Rosenthal and Chuck Berge, which was his one and only album of drumming, I do believe. Opens up with Stranded. Love Roger Glover's bass line on that. Great little opener, great vocal from Joe, and Ritchie as ever, he's brilliant. Then we get Can't Let You Go. Love this, especially that opening keyboards from Dave Rosenthal, church organ. Just adds to the track. Good guitar solo from Ritchie in this. Good song. Then we get Fool for Your Night. This is what I call generic Rainbow. I'm not very keen on it, but I like Ritchie Blackmore's solo in it. Fire Dance. That's got that very American sound that Ritchie was looking for. It's alright. I do like the drumming from Chuck on this. Excellent. Anybody There is an instrumental. It's great. Always like listening to Ritchie Blackmore's guitar work. Then we get Desperate Heart, catchy tune. The guitar solo is pretty good in this. Then we get Street of Dreams. I love this song. It's very radio friendly, but I just like it. It's a really good song. Then we get my favourite track on here, Drinking with the Devil. It's got that elements of that 70s Rainbow. Great vocal from Jolyn Turner on that. Absolutely great track. Then we get The Snowman, the Howard Blake. It's very good. It's a lovely version of it. Ritchie plays great on that. Can't knock that. Make Your Move. Great rocker. Chuck Berge's drumming is brilliant on it. And you get that great thumping bass line for Mr. Glover. Great way to end the album. It's a good album, but I think this is probably the weakest one of the Jolyn era. Jolyn Turner era. But it's still got some great tracks on it. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, then coming in at number 6, we get the 5th album, released in 1981, Difficult to Cure. This album marked further commercialisation of the band's sound, because he was describing it as he had appreciation for Foreigner. So on here we've got Ritchie Blackmore on guitar, Don Airey, this would be his last appearance with the band, Roger Glover on the bass, Bobby Rindelli on drums. This would be his first album with the band, and this was also Jolyn Turner's first album. Opens up with I Surrender. That's got a, everyone knows this. This is not a song that I really, one of them songs that if I never hear it again I won't get upset. It's one of them songs as well that's always on a compilation of classic rock albums. There's 2 songs I use from Rainbow. This is one of them. There are much better songs by Rainbow than I Surrender. Then we get the brilliant Spotlight Kid. Ah, my favourite track with Jolene Turner. It's just amazing. Love the guitar solos on this. The old Russian bit. It's just a great track. Love it to bits. Then we get No Release. This is a little bit different for Rainbow. I do like the catchy beat to it. It's got a great little bass line from Roger, and I like the vocal that Joe does, and he got that get no release. It's just a bit different. Good track. Then we get Magic. It's probably one of the worst tracks Rainbow ever did. It's so wishy-washy. Then we get a instrumental. Now I'll try and pronounce this. Wirkt des Nacht mal. I still can't say. It's bad enough trying to speak English, hello in German. But it's basically maybe next time. Great instrumental from Ritchie. It's just Britain, just brilliant. Then we get Can't Happen Here. I love this track. Much better track than I Surrender. Was a single as well. Brilliant track. Great rocker. Then we get Freedom Fighter, which again is a quirky little track. It's okay. It's got a great solo from Ritchie on it, of course. Really, really good. Then we get Midtown Tunnel Vision. This is a really old-fashioned Rainbow song going back to the early days. It's really, really good. Love that track. Then we get another instrumental, Difficult to Cure, known to me and you as Ode to Joy, Beethoven's Ninth. That's great. I haven't seen Rainbow, but I've seen Deep Purple perform this. It's great. I think one of the best versions of this though is when he does it in Japan. They do this in Japan with the orchestra. It's absolutely brilliant. Good way to end the album. An album that's got some really good deep cut tracks on here. Forget the singles. The rest of the tracks are pretty good apart from Magic, but it's still a great album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay, and coming at number 5, we go to the 6th album, released in 1982, Straight Between the Eyes. This is Ritchie Blackmore, Roger Glover, Jolene Turner, Bobby Rindelli. This would be his last album, and the first album for David Rosenthal. Also on here we've got some orchestral stuff from Francois Domperrier and Raymond Descent on the orchestral lead. First track on here, Death Alley Driver. Same vein as Spotlight Kid. Great drumming from Bobby Rindelli on this. Great guitar work and some great keyboards from Dave Rosenthal. Really strong track. Then we get Stone Cold. I love this. Great bass line from Roger. Nice gentle guitar work from Ritchie and a great vocal from Joe. Then you get some really great power riffs from Ritchie. Fantastic track. Then we get Bring On The Night. Dream Chaser. Bit radio friendly, but it's not a bad track at all. Then we get Tight Squeeze. This reminds me so much of LA Connection. It's got that great riff on it. It's a brilliant track. Tearing Out My Heart. This is actually one of my favourite ballads by Rainbow. Ritchie's guitar work is brilliant. Also Jolene Turner's vocal is superb on this one. Okay, Kurt, next track, Power. That opening riff. Great track. And then you got Roger's great bass line. Such a feel-good track. Then we get another great track, Mistreated. Love the start to this. Great bit of keyboard, and then you get Ritchie's great power riffs. Excellent track. Rock Fever, another good little rock track here. Great vocal from Joe on this, and of course we get the driving Ritchie Blackmore riffs. Eyes of Fire. This is like a very on the eyes of Gates of Babylon, Stargazer. This is Joe Lynn Turner's version of them two songs combined. I love this track, brilliant. Great way to end this album. This is definitely my favourite Joe Lynn Turner album. It's got some good ballads on, some great rockers, some harking back to the glory days of Rainbow. I love this album to death, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.2. Okay, coming in at number 4, we go to the fourth album. It's the last one that featured Cozy, and their only album with Graham Bonnet. So we've got Ritchie Blackmore, Cozy Powell, Roger Glover. This would be his first appearance with the band. Same with Don Airey and Graham Bonnet. Opens up, of course, with the classic All Night Long. Oh, what a track. Love that opening riff. And then dulcet tones of Mr. Bonnet. Absolutely brilliant. First thing I heard, of course, of this lineup of Rainbow. Absolutely stonking track. Then we get Eyes of the World. This is my favourite track on this album. Love Don's keyboards. Some great drumming from Cozy. It's Ever, and then Graham's vocal is brilliant. No Time to Lose. It's okay. Nice little rock track. Great bass line here from Roger, and Graham Bonnet's voice is just cool. Great track. Making Love, another of those catchy tunes. Great vocal from Graham on this. Nice guitar work from Ritchie. A little bit different from his normal stuff, but it's really good. Then we get Since You've Been Gone. When I first heard this, I thought it was great. Loved it. But now it is so overplayed. And then when people say, oh, what's your favourite Rainbow song since you've been gone? I go, really? It's overplayed. Again, this is one of them tracks that's on every compilation. As I said, it's either I Surrender or this one. And I just don't like this as much now. It's again one of them tracks, if I never hear it again, I'm not going to cry over it. But it does really, when people say it's their favourite ever Rainbow track. Yeah. Shall we move on from that song? Then we get Love's No Friend. I love Cozy's drumming on this. It's a bit of a slower track. It's a good song. Graham Bonnet sounds brilliant on this. Then we get Danger Zone. It's a little bit mystique, like the keyboards from Don on this. Pretty good track. Then we get another belter. Lost in Hollywood. This is the best track of Cozy's drumming on this album. Nice way for him to sign off. It's just hard, heavy, and some great vocal from Graham. He was on fire on this track. What a way to end this album. Love this album. It's a shame that Graham didn't make any more, to be quite honestly. It's got some great performances of Cozy on this. Solid as ever. It's just brilliant. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 9.5. So we've now actually reached Ronnie's. Well, it's obvious that the Ronnie albums are going to be my favourites. Sort of tough. Number one was always going to be number one, but it was the other two that really gave me headaches on this, because I love all these three albums. To me, they are quintessential Rainbow, and they are the best Rainbow albums. So coming in at number 3, we go to that debut album, Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow. Ronnie James Dio on the lead vocals, Ritchie Blackmore, and then we get the other three members of Elf, Mickey Lee Saul, Craig Gruber, and Gary Driscoll. Opens up with just a classic, Man on the Silver Mountain. That opening riff just blows you away. Ronnie's vocals on this are brilliant. One of my favourite Rainbow tracks, without a doubt. Self-Portrait's your next track. Certainly got that medieval sort of feel to it. Love Ritchie's great guitar in this. Again, Ronnie on the money. Then we get a cover, Black Sheep of the Family, which is a song by Quatermass, of course. It's an alright version. It's not particularly a favourite on this album of mine. I love the track, but yeah, it's just ordinary. Then we do get another classic, Catch the Rainbow. What a fantastic track. What more can you say about it except that it's brilliant. Great guitar from Ritchie. Ronnie's on fire. Absolute belter. Then we get Snake Charmer. It's one of them 1970s mid-rock tracks. Great guitar from Ritchie on this. Like that. Then we get the Temple of the King. Another classic track. I love the gentleness of this one. The guitar work from Ritchie is something else, sorry. This is the sort of sound you'd get later in his career with Blackmore's Night. And as ever, Ronnie on the mark. If you don't like rock and roll, I don't know if this was a leftover from Elf, because it sounds pretty good. It sounds more like Elf than Rainbow, if you get what I mean. It's a good track. 16th Century Greensleeves, another classic track. Love the riffs in this. And probably on this album, this is probably Ronnie's best vocal on this album. It's brilliant. How he up in the tower, and he really emphasises the word tower. Then to end the album, we have an instrumental version of Still I'm Sad. It's alright. Classic album. I love this album to death. Okay, it's got a couple of covers on, but it's still quintessential because it's got so many classic tracks from Rainbow. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 9.6. Okay, coming in number 2, we go to the third album, released in 1978. Last album to feature Ronnie James Dio, of course. So it's got Ronnie James Dio on it, Ritchie Blackmore, Cozy Powell, the one and only appearance of Bob Daisley on the bass. He plays on Gates of Babylon, Kill the King, and Sensitive to Light. David Stone's on keyboards on Gates of Babylon, Kill the King, The Shed, and the piano outro to LA Connection. Tony Carey's on Long Live Rock and Roll, Lady of the Lake, and Rainbow Eyes, sort of. This is at the time where Tony Carey was having a few problems. And then you've got the musicians doing some violins. We've got Ferenc Kiss, Otomar Machin on viola, Karl Heinz Fate on solo, cello, and Rudy Rafsvi on the flute. Opens up, of course, with the classic Long Live Rockin' Roll. One of Cozy's finest drumming appearances, hard hitting, great guitar work from Ritchie, and of course Ronnie belts that out. Then we get Lady of the Lake, solid track. Highlight of this though is Cozy's drumming, brilliant track. LA Connection, classic, that opening riff from Ritchie. And then you get a great bass line from Bob Daisley and a great vocal from Ronnie. And then we get the mysterious, brilliant Gates of Babylon. Absolute belter of a track. Great guitar work, great vocal from Ronnie. Brilliant track. Then we get Kill the King. One of the great opening tracks of any shows Rainbow ever did. This is brilliant. This is Tony Carey on the keyboards on this one, and he kills it. Absolutely brilliant. Great vocal from Ronnie. That Ritchie Blackmore guitar work, brilliant. Love this track. Then we get The Shed. Now this is one of the deep cut tracks on this album, and it's an amazing track. Great rocker. Ronnie's vocal is brilliant. Ritchie really plays some great guitar on this one. Brilliant track. Always Forgotten About. Excellent track. And then we get Sensitive to Light. Another sublime guitar solo from Ritchie on this. Again, Ronnie is superb. Then we get Rainbow Eyes, of course. Never been a fan of this. Doesn't fit on the album. As far as I'm concerned, this album ends on Sensitive to Light. That's fantastic album. Great way for Ronnie to sign off. It's just got classic after classic on this. I mean, you got Long Live Rock and Roll, LA Connection, Gates of Babylon, and Kill the King, and The Shed. All classics. So I'm going to give the Snartio ranking of 9.7. Number one, well, it's not surprisingly, is it, what my number one is? Always been my number one. It's one of the best rock albums ever. We're talking about the second album released in 1976. It's the brilliant Rising. This to me is the best lineup of Rainbow ever. Ronnie James Dio, Ritchie Blackmore, Tony Carey, Jimmy Bain, Cozy Powell. We got a dish of the Munich Philharmonic Orchestra plays on this as well. Side 1 opens up with that brilliant Tarot Woman. Jimmy's bass complementing the little bits of Ritchie, storming in with a great drum from Cozy, Tony Carey, and then Ronnie. That's just a brilliant track. I was lucky enough to see Ronnie James Dio do this, and it's a belter. Run with the Wolf, another great track. Great drumming from Cozy on this, and I love Jimmy Bain's bass line. Absolutely killer. Then we get the quirky Starstruck. Great track. Love Ronnie's vocal on this. Superb track. Do You Close Your Eyes? Now this is one of the forgotten tracks. I love this track. It's a great little rocker. Some great drumming from Cozy on this one. Hits them drums so hard. Great track. Then of course we get the best ever track by Rainbow. The best ever track Ronnie ever sang on in his whole career. Probably one of Ritchie Blackmore's greatest guitar solos. Talking about the brilliant Stargazer. You can't get any better than this as a rock track. It's absolutely brilliant. It is, of course, Ronnie James Dio's best vocal ever. Brilliant track. Cozy, and I think it's probably it's Cozy Powell's best drumming he ever did with Rainbow, and I think it's one of the best songs he ever drummed on. Full stop. It's just a brilliant track. And then that's followed up by the second best track by Rainbow, A Light in the Black. One side has got both my favourite tracks on there. I mean, it is the perfect side, isn't it? It's got two tracks, but both tracks are brilliant. There's something about this track. Tony Carey's his finest keyboard work that he did with Rainbow. Ritchie Blackmore's guitar solo is brilliant on this. Ronnie, killer vocal, killer vocal. It's just sublime. There's something about this. To me, this is one of the ultimate rock albums in rock history. Every track is just mind-blowing. It's the perfect album. And it's the album that if never heard of Rainbow, you throw on this and say, get your lugs round this. And I come back and go, wow. It's a great album, so it's one of my favourite albums ever. And so there's only one mark I can give this one. That's the Big 10 today. Okay, that's part 2 of Ronnie. Got the last part next week, which is going to be, it's a band, of course it's Dio. It's a viewer's request as well. Someone actually asked me to do them, so I thought I'd do the rest of Ronnie's career. So we're going to look at Dio next week. Okay, I'll be back later with a classic album. We've got a real corker today. Doing Iron Butterflies in Garda da Vida, which is an absolute belting album. It's a quintessential album, so I'm looking forward to talking about that one. So I will see you for that later. Bye for now.